So now that we've talked about ICOs and IEOs and DICOs, again, those are categorically segregated from STOs and ETOs by virtue of the fact there is an assumption or argument that the token being sold in those instances are not securities. And I would argue that that's probably the vast minority of offerings in the crypto space as a lawyer, and I think that most crypto offerings to date, and certainly going in the future, or not certainly, hopefully, maybe, in the future are going to be securities backed. And I would, again, if you are a practitioner dealing with an issuer client looking to do a tokenized offering, start with the premise, why is this not an STO and ETO? Once you get past that, then the question is, well, what the hell does this thing do and what does it look like? Because if an issuer says, hey, I want to sell shares, you already have an understandable framework of what that means. Okay, are these common shares? Are they preferred shares? What makes them preferred? What's the preference actually involved? Are these preferred junior, senior? Are they above another series? How do they relate to debt? Are they convertible? What's going on? If you're a seasoned venture capital practitioner, you probably have a pretty good vocabulary as to what that looks like. What I would say is that in the tokenized offering space, you have sort of three major categories. Equity-backed, i.e., does this token correspond to that share or that unit? Does it represent ownership in the company or not? Because it doesn't have to, right? Just like debt does not represent ownership in a company, though a debt instrument probably is a security for the reasons we discussed in most contexts, right? Or non-equity backed. Okay, well, this token represents profit or an obligation to repay or a combination of the two, or something that's not directly speaking to the capitalization ownership of the company, right? Or hybrid, a little bit of both. A little bit about hybridization as well. STOs and ETOs, to the extent that they're selling tokens that are presupposed to be securities, sometimes are actually paired with another token. So sometimes you'll have dual token offerings where the prime token being sold for financing purposes is the STO or the ETO, and there might be another token that actually is a utility that's being provided in some capacity to sweeten the pot. So hybrid here not only means that it could be, well, the token has a little bit of equity in it and a little bit of non-equity. It could also mean there are two types of tokens being sold, right? And I'm not suggesting that that is the right way or the wrong way. The exigencies of the situation require careful planning and thinking, but now you know that the full gamut or spectrum of things can be engineered, which is a blessing and a curse, right? So what I like to do when I counsel clients is say, okay, look, which one of these prime categories is it? Are we talking about selling pieces of your company or not? And if the answer is yes, we're thinking about providing ownership value. That's how we want to incentivize people. I usually direct them to what the starting point, in my case, would be traditional venture capital terms. And when you sell equity in a company on a venture capital basis, generally speaking, if the company is not public yet, these are successive rounds of preferred equity offerings, which means not common stock. These are shares of stock that have preferences, meaning that if the company is sold, there might be a liquidation preference, meaning they get their money first. If the company issues more stock, there might be anti-dilution protection, meaning that they might get some extra stock to cover their dilution. There might be pro rata rights, the ability to buy more stock, contractually, information rights, the right to see and understand company operations above and beyond what the preferred stock nakedly might offer them. And a variety of protective provisions, things that might prevent the company from changing capitalization, the board composition, issuing additional stock, selling the company without consent of the preferred stockholders. That's my starting point. That's usually where I start with this.